John Eads said earlier something about mindset. I'll give you a little sneak preview of mine. There's no place that I would rather be than here on stage at the JW Marriott in Cherry Creek in Denver, Colorado. There's nobody I'd rather be talking to than you, our select, socially distanced audience here at the JW Marriott, those of you who are tuned in from all over the world, and anyone who might be watching later in a recorded version online. And there's nothing I'd rather talk about than how communication will always be crucial. This is the stuff that matters. I wonder if we have something in common. That you have that one thing that if you had just a teeny tiny bit more time, that you would do. I actually have 3, and in reverse order. They are get organized, get fit, and get grounded. I probably should have been more specific about what I meant by grounded, not like the old school dads say, you're grounded, rule number 1, have no fun, but rather grounded, slow down, and communicate consciously with those who matter most to me. Have you heard of the Countdown app? I clicked mine when I landed in Denver on Friday the 13th of March, 2020. I clicked it in count up mode thinking it could be a while before I get back on a plane. I took this picture out the window from my window seat on my flight home from New York City. I had planned on being there March 10th to the 16th. I cut my trip short because it felt a little bit like a zombie apocalypse movie in New York City. It never occurred to me that it would be 46 weeks, 5 days, 16 hours, 3 minutes, and some odd seconds later, and then I wouldn't even have a trip on my future radar. I've never in my adult life spent more than 5 weeks with anyone ever. And that was in a camper van on the trip of a lifetime with my husband. And truth be told, even with my favorite pandemic partner, communication was stressed now and then. Inside that box, it says poor communication costs organizations $10,000 per employee per year. And that's from the Workforce Productivity and Communications Technology Report in 2019. When Greg invited me to be part of this session, and he told me that his mission was to help people be better parents, to be better leaders, to be better owners of their organizations, I thought, sign me up. This is really, really cool stuff. I'd love to contribute any way that I can. And as I was creating my slides and thinking about what I might talk about today, I used kids in business clothing because I thought, oh, that would kind of help us cross the chasm of all of those different things that we could be thinking about. So as I talk about communication and how it's so crucial and give you some tips and some tricks and tell you some stories, think about this through your own lens. Think about it as a leader. Think about it as a parent. And full disclosure, I am not a parent. I think that's a very, very grown-up thing to do. But I was a kid not that long ago, so I look at it through that lens and think, well, what would motivate me? But this might also apply at home as a partner. It might apply if you're looking for love in this weird pandemic time, trying to date. It might apply if you're interviewing. So I'll, kind of cross the chasm. At Mandel Communications, we talk about 3 crucial elements of communication. One is how you think. One is how you listen. And the last is, in fact, how you speak. So I'll unpack this a little bit, tell little stories, share little tips. So the first one being think. I mentioned that my mindset was that there's nowhere I'd rather be, there's nothing I'd rather talk about, and there's nobody I'd rather be with. This is something that our #1 trainer in Europe talks about when he's doing presentation skills training. He's a beautiful person. He meditates in the morning before the workshop. He says, this is how I want it to be for them. This is what it's going to be. He also says when he's presenting virtually, his mindset is, I'm falling in love with the camera. And so it helps you on the other side when you're receiving that information. It helps you feel like this guy really appreciates me. He has no idea who I am, but he appreciates me. He's here for me, and he's helping me understand what I need to do. Another mindset that I find really, really powerful, and actually when I see it in others, I find it sexy, is curiosity. Curiosity can be your superpower. So if we're thinking before a presentation or before a conversation, if we're thinking about our little one who's coming home from school, think about 3 things that you're curious about, 3 questions that you could ask. And then actually preface those questions with, I'm curious. So rather than saying, how was your day? Keep on working and not really even look up because it's just an exercise you're supposed to say, how was your day? Say, I'm curious. How did your algebra test go? Because I know you were working really hard to prepare. And then listen. So thinking, now listening, that was my segue into the next bit. In our listening practice at Mandel Communications, we start every listening workshop with a scientifically validated assessment. And the results of that assessment tell you what your listening preferences are. So I'll unpack what the 4 preferences are. And I love how the logos or the icons for these preferences, the arrows kind of tell you the information that your brain is seeking when you're listening. The connective listener is listening for, how does this affect others? How does this affect my colleagues? How does this affect my friends? How does this affect my mom? How does this affect us? How does it affect others? The reflective listener cares about themselves. How does this affect me? Oh my gosh, what's happening? How is this going to change my job? The analytical listener is looking for facts and data. And then the conceptual listener is just thinking about the really big picture. What's possible? They're a visionary. The assessment will tell you if you are dominant in one of those listening preferences, dual dominant, triple dominant, or even non-dominant. Non-dominant means that you actually are equally weighted all the way across. And there is no bad listening style. There's only people who don't listen, right? Any listening power is a superpower. But identify what your gaps are, what distracts you. Where might you want to prepare differently if you might not care that much about data? What's important to us ultimately is listening intelligence. Listening intelligence is taking a moment to sense where you are, understand what kind of listener am I, and how am I right now, and how present am I in this situation. The next thing we want you to do is recognize the listening preferences of others. How are they listening, and how might I need to then adapt how I speak so that I can best serve them and navigate to a constructive outcome? That's listening intelligence. Which brings us to speak. So if you've been thinking and preparing yourself and then listening and adjusting yourself so that you can speak to what other people care about, we like to talk about how both what you say and how you say it matter. So I'll think of a few different things that I've heard. One is, again, your intention, your mindset. A really great boss of mine, in our very first meeting after he was named my boss, said, "My intention is that one day you'll look back and you'll say I was one of the best bosses you ever had." And that was a lens through which I looked at him every time I saw him. And the guy lived in Capitola, California. We would actually have account reviews on surfboards, sit in the water and wait for a wave to come and talk about accounts. We had account reviews on chairlifts when we went snowboarding together, right? And because he was such an incredible athlete, and because he was always stretching the boundaries, I decided I would take him to Red Rocks and we would run the stairs and do account reviews, which actually, even though he was from the low altitude of California, he still crushed me on the stairs, but it was really fun. His family had a culture where they talked about, are you building someone up with your words, or are you breaking someone down with your words? So just if you somehow said something that hurt someone's feelings, there was a building or breaking moment, and you knew that you could just modify. Now, one of the really, really, really cool sound bites of the century that was shared with me that I've really ingrained in how I approach things is to say to someone, "I believe in you." It's a really simple thing to say, but it makes such a difference. When you are preparing for communication that is super high stakes, if you're preparing for a presentation, for a conversation, a sales call, an interview, and you've done a lot of thinking and preparing, and you've done a lot of listening to what it is that they care about, and you've modified what you're going to say, I also suggest that you kind of finish your preparation so that you can practice and so that you can be present when you're in the moment. There's an app called Orai, O-R-A-I, that you can download from Apple or Google Play. And when you register, you'll get 2 free months of this app. You just use Mandel, our company name, all lowercase. And it is such a cool app. It's totally sci-fi. If you just practice your presentation, just hit the play or hit the record button, practice your presentation, talk for an hour, talk for 2 hours, stop the app, and you'll instantly get a dashboard that tells you what your analytics are, your metrics of your presentation. It'll tell you how many times you said It'll tell you how many words per minute you're speaking, and we like to see you in the 125 to 150. It'll tell you about your vocal animation if you're kind of cranking along kind of flat. So what we're looking for in your presentation, again, it's both what you say, the words you use, and how you say it, the energy and the composure. If you're too energized, you look like a spaz, you look nervous, you look anxious. If you're too composed, you're just flat and boring. In my last 15 minutes, I've spent some time talking about how you think, how you listen, and how you speak. What's next? What I'd like you to do is try just 1 or 2 of these things. Try them at home, try them at work, try them in an interview. Use your curiosity. My email is on this slide. And you can find me on LinkedIn under Naomi Mertz Price. Mertz is my maiden name. I'd love for you to connect with me if there are any questions that you have so that I can answer them. I'd also love for you to share how you've used what you learned today, whether it's my presentation or another that you've seen. And please tag the Leadership Development Day, so that everyone sees the superpower of what Greg's brought for all of us. If you use these things, if you communicate more carefully and thoughtfully, and if you listen, I swear you will be a better leader. I swear you'll be a better parent. I swear you'll be a better partner. And I think you'll have more fun. Thank you. Thank you.
I love the way you brought little kids into suits to show us what it would be like if we could be, I took it as, what if we could look at ourselves not so seriously as a little kid in a suit again? And I don't know if anyone else thought about that. But my question for you, and I had it come in on a few of the social medias, is what made you decide to focus your life on helping others communicate better?
Wow, that's a deep question. I think that I've been very blessed. It's maybe if I pause for a moment and realize that it's been my calling and that the universe has invited me to do this. My degree was advertising, marketing, political science, and English. And it was because I wasn't very focused, honestly.
That's a lot of degree.
In the end, it did turn out to be fairly well-rounded. And I've used every ounce of all of those things every day. But I've never had a job in my adult career that didn't start with a recruiter calling me and saying, I've got a perfect job for you. And the last time that I got that call, I had actually been up all night preparing for a presentation, doing it wrong. And I said to myself, there's got to be an easier way. And the next day I got a phone call. I actually put a Post-it note on the bulletin board and said, I will take a presentation skills class. I got a call from the recruiter. He said, I've got the perfect job for you. And I said, oh, I'm not looking, thank you. And he said, well, the first step is to fly you to San Francisco and put you through a 2-day presentation skills class. And I said, oh, wait, that's what, the universe just did that for me. I am so powerful. So I actually went to the workshop with the caveat that I probably wouldn't take the job, but I did want to take the workshop. And then I took the workshop and had the experience and said, we can change the world. I am now an evangelist. This is work that we can do, and we can make a difference for others and help them make better decisions faster.
And what I heard you just say is the whole reason this day is here. We, collectively, can really change the world if we want to. And it's just not us up here in suits. It's the people out there. We're just vessels, yes? We're just conduits for you to understand what it's like to really listen and think and believe and become that little person. Because I believe when I have the most fun, I am being a child. And I don't mean the wrong kind of person. I'm just saying I'm having fun, I'm playing. And that's what inspired me to do this. And I see love and joy in you since we got a chance to meet on Zoom, etc. And anyway, just wanted to come up and say thank you.
Thank you. Well, I am so grateful that you brought us together. This is literally the first time I haven't even used a public restroom since last March. And I thought this is a perfect day to wear my mullet suit because I'm business in the front and I'm party on the side.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. It's
Appreciate it.
really great to be here.